custom live streaming. Oh, you know, with I'm using Chrome to host this Zoom, and every time I open it, the custom live streaming, even though I set it up beforehand, it makes me go to Edge. I can't stand that.
Would you want to restart the meeting through the actual Zoom application?
I am using the actual Zoom. I set up my custom live streaming through Zoom, but it always makes me go to Edge. Let's see, and I got to get my stream key and my RTMP every time to put it in Edge, and I don't want to use Edge at all. I even made Chrome my default, so I wouldn't have to use Edge, but it still comes up. Okay, custom streaming required. Go live. You should see something that says preparing a custom live stream.
That is correct. This meeting is being live streamed, and I'm just gonna press on got it.
So that means we are live. Hooray. So hey everyone, Erica Bates, Talk Virtual. I am here with John or Gene. I can't remember.
John is
fine.
John is fine.
John. And we're going to talk about how he hosts his monthly events. So John, how'd you get started hosting your monthly events?
All right, so I need to give a little bit of context because this might be a little bit of a different type of event that we're used to, and specifically on the outcome. I manage an organization called the TIOF Foundation. It's an NGO that advocates for something called Data-Centric Digital Rights, and in a very, very summarized way that really doesn't make it any justice, but still, it's kind of the attempt of asking for governments that when they issue a policy that has to do with public consumption technology, that is issued not only as a piece of paper with very pretty words, as in, it's supposed to be doing this and doing that, but also a technical standard for the implementation, so that the people who are supposed to be building software or technology around that policy know exactly what is expected from them, and you can, on top of that, verify compliance. So think about it from the perspective of, let's say, a car. If I'm a car manufacturer, the government tells me the car must be safe and it has to come with these safety measures, the ABS, the airbag, the safety belt, whatever it is. And it not only tells you that, it also tells you these are the margins of manufacturing for that specific product. When it gets an impact, it needs to be deformed into this amount. The gas emissions must be in this range. You have to use this kind of fuel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So as a manufacturer, I can get not only the policy, but also the technical standard of implementation. And I can go and manufacture a prototype that will be inside the standards, then goes to an agency that will verify in a very systematic way whether that car is or not compliant with being safely on the streets. And once the compliance is done, crash test dummy, this thing that we see in the movies. Once that is done, I get a certification, and then I can start manufacturing and selling on the market. Unfortunately, that's not happening when it comes to most technologies, specifically at software level. It does happen at hardware level. So your phones normally are verified in terms of things such as, let's make sure that when you're having on the face, the battery doesn't explode on you. Okay, those things are controlled, and there are specifications for manufacturing. They aren't, for instance, for things such as data protection law. So in California, you do have a data protection law that specifies what can and cannot be done with data. However, there is no technical standard for the implementation. It's just a piece of paper that says consumer has the right for this, it has the right for rectification, the right for access of data, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is good luck figuring out how to implement this in a way that all companies are doing at the same time. Because what you want as a consumer is that when you connect to an online banking platform, for instance, or from a e-commerce platform, and they claim that they are compliant, you want to be able to verify that they are compliant. It's not just, I claim to be. We don't have the tools to do that at the moment. So that's basically what we're trying to push for in our organization. And as a result, we regard programmers as what we consider the next generation of rights defenders. They are the ones who are designing and building all the technology that we are so much concerned about. And well, logic will tell you, if they are the ones taking care of this, shouldn't they be the first ones interested on fixing things before they give you a problem? Now, in order to do that, they need to know how to be guided. You can't build something expecting that it's going to be protected by design if you're not given the guidelines to do so. I can't build a car that is going to be safe if I'm not told, in the US or in Spain or in Nicaragua, cars have to be following this particular standard. And it's an interesting thing, because any other industry that you can think of, any other minimally regulated industry in terms of safety for the consumer has this cycle. You can talk about, water from the tap to food industry to any other that you can think of. The assumption is I'm getting a product that has been tested to be minimally safe for me. And there are agencies with checks and balances before the product is put into the market. I'm not saying that's always perfect. It's just the general understanding we have for any industry, except software, public consumption software. It's a very interesting cognitive dissonance that we have. So all of this explains why we are running this event called TechUp. It's a monthly event that runs for 48 hours, a whole weekend at the moment. And we have plans to expand that, in fact. And the idea, what we're trying to do, is to build an ecosystem between programmers, tech communities, open source projects, and other supporting organizations that will allow them to generate this agents of change mentality and embrace the position as next generation of rights defenders. That's essentially all the outcome. Instead of doing a general just have a good time type of event, we really want them to learn, and eventually over the months, it's going to be a very long type of process, this one, have the kind of people who would like to go to the places where you can have an influence on, let's say, technical standards, and start raising the hand and say, hey, how about we do this a little bit different from a technical perspective. Our idea is that eventually we would hope for that to be moved into a 24/7 open space. And the reason why I didn't mention, the reason why we run it for 48 hours is because we cover the whole world, as in we have different activities at different time zone areas. And we try to provide the opportunity to everyone to join at their own most convenient time.
Sounds cool and tiring. Are you actually staying up that whole time?
No, we try to do shifts. Unfortunately, civil society is not known for swimming into money, which means resources are always very scarce. I tend to say that we are much more motivated than funded, and then I tend to do a follow up on that. That we function as if money mattered, and we operate as if it didn't. Because you can't depend on whether you have or not resources. You have to keep going if that's what you really want to do. Now, it is very consuming, because every single month we have the whole cycle of creating the sessions, making sure that the materials are going to be quality enough. If you're going to be asking someone to spend 3 or 4 hours in front of a computer, the least that you can do is try to arrange for, I apologize if there's motorbikes on the, how's my sound level?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, is there too much noise going on?
Nope.
Okay, good. And so, if you're going to be asking someone to be paying attention for 60 minutes to a session, the least that you can do is try to provide something that is quality. And so we really concentrate on trying to find interesting speakers that have something to deliver. And by the end of the session, you will have learned something, for sure. We also concentrate on 3 types of knowledge, if you will, when it comes to capacity building sessions. The first one is hard skills, so technical skills. I mean, you're talking to technology, so you need to provide them things that are going to be interesting for them at that level. We also concentrate on soft skills. And the reason why we look into that is because if you're trying to have someone who has the knowledge and go to a place to try to change things, to the very least, they need to have the ability to express themselves. And it's not very often that you see computer science faculties providing subjects such as public speaking abilities. So, you don't want them to be a guru. That's not the idea. But to the very least, they need to feel comfortable expressing the change that they're trying to achieve. So we try to look into these elements, but then the third one is ecosystem mapping. Now, you know what you need to know and you know how to express. Now, the next question is, where do I go? And in order to do that, you need to have a very clear picture of what are the open standard working groups that might be working on the subjects that you are passionate about. What are the authoritative organizations that are making decisions on things such as, you'll be surprised, there's plenty of stuff happening out there, and the participation processes are not obscure, meaning to say that you can apply to participate in plenty of those groups. It's just that the information is not reaching. And well, specifically in areas where certain decision-making processes are taking place, in our estimation, not enough technical people are there. And then comes the policies, the way they are designed, and you look at them, you read them, and you wonder why. Because they're not asking. I mean, think about it. You would be issuing a policy on water sanitation for public consumption in housing. Are you expecting to only have lawyers in that room? No, the immediate thinking is there's going to have chemical engineers, and you're going to have industrial engineers, and you have to have geologists because you need to find the water, etc. And that comes as a natural instinct, like, well, those people are going to be there. I don't even have to doubt it. They have to be there. How come there's not enough technologists in places where they are discussing policy for technology? How is that playing out? Not too well so far.
Yeah,
So yeah, there we go.
I remember a woman who designed the user interface for Uber, and she said people were using her design to be racist, and she said she didn't know it, and she was wondering if there was any checks and balances that she could have used to prevent that. But, yeah, so it's a really good thing that you're hosting these 48-hour events. How many speakers do you usually have when you host those events?
So we try to separate a little bit the activities based on the day, because we are also very aware that people on the weekends, they don't want to be looking at a box. As in, we chose weekends essentially because if you want to be on a 24 hours, sorry, on a 48 hours, a 24 hour cycle for 48 hours, you need to basically try to do it at times that people are going to be free, that they may have some free time. And then you compete with the fact that people want to go hiking, or they want to go for, watch a movie, or just, stay away from their devices. It's totally normal. I'm not expecting people to just stay there hooked. No, I mean, it makes no sense. The thing is trying to find a balance with that. We thought, well, we can schedule sessions on day one, as it stands right now, in the format that it stands right now. So 2 days. Day one for capacity building, which is the tag is learn. And then day two for actual implementation of things, but the tag is build. And in between, we have a lot of networking sessions. So anyone who actually wants to learn, to get to know other practitioners or other people from the community, there's plenty of kind of speed networking type of situations, of sessions. And we normally have 8 capacity building sessions on day one. And we attempt to put them on the schedule so that according to a reasonable amount of hours that you're going to be awake on your day, so let's say from 10 o'clock in the morning all the way to maximum 8 to 10 in the evening. I mean, you can stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning. No one tells you you can't. It's just, I don't want to assume that you will. So we put them so that to the very least, people can comfortably attend to 2 capacity building sessions, and if they will, they can stretch all the way to the end of the day with 2 more. So out of the 8, 4 are totally doable. If you feel a little bit with energetic, you can always wake up a little bit earlier and possibly take the 2 before. And if you're totally excited about the next ones, well, do it. I'm not complaining about it. It's just that we also let people know that they can go for the replay afterwards. So all the sessions are recorded. They are also live streamed. And if you miss any of them, just come back to the platform later and just go watch the replay. Do it at your convenience. But it's not about forcing people to come at a specific time. It's more about them getting the knowledge.
Okay. How many platforms do you stream to?
Currently, YouTube and Facebook. Essentially because you can stream with our platform. You can stream to LinkedIn and Twitter. By the way, I use a platform called AirMeet. Not affiliated. I'm not selling anything for them. But
It's
to
okay.
clarify,
I love AirMeet.
yeah, we are absolutely in love with it. It's really been a lifesaver for us and a game changer in the way we can interact with the community. So the problem with Twitter is that you need to be invited. For all the research that I've done, you have to be invited by them. You're not provided with the ability to stream directly. In the case of LinkedIn, you're required to ask for an authorization. And I guess it's because they don't want to be investing resources on organizations that don't generate enough clout. But basically, we got refused. And I would say it's because you need to be of a certain size or being able to ensure that you're going to be attracting a certain audience level.
Supposedly, like if you do it today, you will be accepted like within a week. So far, all my friends have been telling me this. I haven't heard a reply yet, and it's been 5 days. But supposedly, everyone around me is getting accepted right away. So try it again. And if you can't get in, there's a program called repurpose.io. It's fully automated. You tell it where you want it to go. If you hook it up to Facebook, it will take it from Facebook and put it into LinkedIn. It will do the same thing with YouTube. If you're streaming to YouTube, it will take it from YouTube and put it in LinkedIn. But you have to have a company page.
Okay, that's not a problem. Would you be able to send me later the link? I would definitely want to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I love repurpose.
Excellent.
So and you're in AirMeet. I do love the speed networking. How many tables do you usually have?
So here's one thing, in order to answer that, when we moved into an online space, we have been testing and running tech up in Malaysia, which is where I'm based, for 2 years face-to-face. It was the first time that we were trying to combine this thing about, let's see if we can make programmers think a little bit one step beyond in terms of sense of responsibility and the kind of thing that they can change. And we learned some how to tweak, because we discovered that if you tell them, hey, you have a responsibility, they would just run away. If you just do it too straightforward, they don't want to hear about it, and they run away. So our challenge was, okay, now we're going to be able to reach out to a potential bigger audience and potentially more participants. The experience is in fact very different. As in, I will never buy into this thing, online events are better than face-to-face. You have to do them because you have to do them, fair enough. Do they solve a certain amount of problems, such as, for instance, outreach beyond your geographical? Definitely. Now, if you're going to be doing that, you need to start figuring out how to supplement or solve problems that you have that are inherent to the platform. Interaction, the emotional feeling that you feel when you're in front of someone on an actual stage, your degree of immersion, so difficult in front of a screen. Networking. I mean, I guess this has been coming up in the interviews. I mean, most people go to conferences just to network. You learn things, etc., etc. But it's the connections and the kind of people that you get to know, and all of a sudden you can create alliances. And this technology has been exacerbating what was a very direct need of ours, which was connection. That's basically what it has scaled. And all of a sudden, what you lose for as much helpful temporarily, let's say things such as Google Meet or Zoom, because they were there ready. The moment the pandemic hit and everyone had to stay at home, what do I use? Okay, click here, link is done. But it didn't have things such as, okay, I finish listening to this speaker. I want to talk to this person. How? The Zoom is closed, and unless you have exchange emails, and most of the time the speakers are not there, I mean, they're busy with something else. And so you lose all of that potential connection. But even talking to, this person on the chat is actually saying something very interesting, very related. How do I? And sometimes they will cut the public chat so you can't talk to each other, or they will do this webinar type of format when you can't even see the list of participants. And that's lacking. In my estimation, that's very lacking. So when we were looking for a platform, we were looking into that, trying to compensate for those problems. How do we make it so that the speaker has the ability to be contacted in an easy way, and an audience can actually contact the speakers, but even between the audiences themselves. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is because that's how we decided to use the tables on the lounge. So when a speaker has a session for 60 minutes, they have the stage. So for those who may not be familiar with the AirMeet platform, you have a number of spaces. It's all a virtual environment that simulates rather well a physical conference type of environment, with a reception, a schedule, the agenda, where you can basically have access, is your gateway to access a stage type of experience, where you have a number of people and everyone is listening. Is typically a bit unidirectional. And then you have a lounge, a virtual lounge with virtual tables. And then you have, you call it the booth or the arena. It has had several names, where you have a number of virtual virtual presence for a number of vendors or whoever you want to host over there. Now, the sequence that we have right now is that the speaker, or different speakers on the same session, present during the session. And right after that, there's a 30-minute break between that session and the next one, which can be used for people to just go and grab something to drink, or stretch their legs, whatever they want to do. Maybe the dog actually is, they also have to go for a walk. And in that time, the speaker has an assigned table in the lounge with their picture and everything. We put the name, etc. And so for each speaker, there's a table. We also have tables for working groups, because we have a number of working groups going on as well in the space. We also have a support table. Not everyone understands exactly. I mean, the platform is getting more and more filled up with services, and moving around is not always straightforward, and you can have connectivity problems or audio problems, whatever. And we easily use about 20 plus tables every single month between speakers and working groups and so forth.
Okay. I asked that because I'm setting up my first event in AirMeet, and I have support tables as my first tables. I have 4 chairs for each. I took up the whole first row for support. The next set of tables have the speaker logos. But now that you said picture, I'm thinking about taking that down and putting the logo and their picture. And I have 8 chairs, but maybe I could bump it up to like 15 or 18. But I didn't want it to be too crowded, because I wanted everyone to have an opportunity to talk and be heard. So.
Yeah. I was going to say, so when it comes to tables, yes, they have increased that for people. One another interesting thing is, a few months ago, they also added the ability of doing private meetings. And so that also overcomes that problem of not being able to meet between audiences themselves, not to have a space. Normally you meet people in the corridors and, hey, let's get here in the corner. Let's just discuss about whatever. That gets solved with AirMeet at the moment, and again, not affiliated. And we're very happy with the general experience, definitely.
I really like it. There's so many opportunities to upsell. the booths, setting up the booths for your sponsors or speakers, offering a table with the logo and name on it, offering so many chairs, giving an opportunity to do the speed networking. If they let me record the tables, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to try to upsell that too. That
Yes,
would be so amazing if I could
I,
record all the tables that are occupied.
I don't recall if that has been mentioned. So I'm in touch with some of the people from the development team, and because they have a Slack for the community. So they receive a lot of feedback, not only from me, but from plenty of other people. And we try to keep them updated and to guide them a little bit about new features that are obvious for us and maybe not so much for them. And they have a huge list of items coming up on the roadmap. These guys are releasing new things almost on a weekly basis. I
Yes,
can't catch up. And
they
and
are
so
amazing.
they're amazing. I mean, I like I said, no affiliated, so I'm not selling them as in, oh my gosh, I'm going to get commission here. It's just
You
that
should definitely get an affiliate link because I have one. And this is going to be
uh,
my first time using it for this
that's
event
that's
coming up. Mm.
that's possibly my undoing. You know, I come from an NGO perspective, so I'm not a salesman. I'm not looking into it. I'd like to be very straightforward about what I think and what I want to say. And in this particular case, so far, that's going to be the small print. So far, they have been behaving in a very professional manner. They have been listening to the feedback from everyone who has been giving them ideas. They have implemented some of those ideas, and I'm very excited to see where things are going. It's definitely, they're doing things well. That's the whole. They're getting rewarded for doing things properly. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, I really do like and appreciate that I have the ability to talk to them. They listen to me and they do some of the stuff I asked for. And I thought that in itself was amazing.
Yep.
So, what one things I wanted to do in Air Meet was to upsell the lounge because I love the lounge. I'm not sure if you know yet, but you can toggle on and off the lounge in between sessions. You can leave it on, you can turn it off, and it's like, hey, everybody, please come back to the main stage. But I think if your speaker is boring, people will leave the main stage and go hang out in the lounge because I have done that. But to toggle the lounge off and on is amazing. What I have planned on doing is using the live stream feature to stream to YouTube for about an hour for the first hour. And if people haven't bought yet, that's where they go. But if they do buy, I will drop the link in the YouTube chat and they can come over and they will have the ability to hang out in the lounge,
Hmm.
meet the speakers and all.
Yeah, that works. The lounge has a lot of potential for much more collaborative type of activities. And in our case, definitely the working groups that we have, they leverage very well on the tables. It wouldn't be suitable for them to do anything on the session. One thing we have requested to Air Meet team is that to be able to generate activities on the lounge that show up on the agenda, on the schedule. Because right now, there is a way to get away with it, as in if you've seen the three types of activities that you can, one is session, the other is breakout, and the other one is networking. And they will show on the schedule. However, the amount of information that you can fill up in them is different. So a session, you can have a description. You cannot have it for a networking session or for the breakout one, for the break type of activity. And at the moment, we need to use the break to define those in lounge type of happens in the lounge. We use tags to separate those kind of things. And so before they had those type of activities, we used a regular session one that would show up on the schedule, and we use tags to be able to discriminate and to be able to filter them. And so what happens at the lounge happens at the stage.
I didn't think
Now,
about that. That's a good
yeah,
idea.
now you
No.
can't do that if you are using the break or the networking type of activities because they don't allow to use tags, for instance. So, you win some, you lose some. It's just them that they're going to be, I mean, they've heard what I told them, because not everything happens on the stage. In fact, not everything should happen on the stage.
That's
I would
right.
even say more. If you want to give more exposure to the booths, you should be able to have an activity that it is come meet the booths. And
Yes.
that should be scheduled so that all the vendors that are supposed to be in those booths in that particular time zone area, you can tell them that, there's going to be 1 hour of people moving around because that's scheduled already as it is.
Mhm.
But right now that's not possible. There's no way to actually redirect people to the booths and everyone go over there.
I was going to use the messaging. You know how you can force a message out in the lounge? That I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even think about the tags, but that was my idea, to use the messaging to say this is happening at this table or this is happening at this booth. And yes, I was planning on upselling that to my sponsors.
Yeah, so you can use the announcements, and the good thing is that the announcements come with this call to action extra element. So you can have, I think it was 150 characters for the announcement, plus the call to action that you can select, and the booths area is selectable, so you can choose that as a destination or a specific booth. And all the ones that you have are there in the list. I mean, it's funny because we have over 50 of those, and the list just becomes just too much to drag around. Now, it has a different effect if you can schedule that on your schedule. If you can actually showcase, 2 to 4 o'clock, it's booth time. It also provides, I wouldn't say clarity, a structure to the booths themselves. Because often enough, they would tell you, so for when do I have to be in the booth? And then your answer is whenever you feel like, because it's your booth. And that experiment about someone when you're in the supermarket and they give you 2 options of jam, and they make you choose, and you go A or B, you're probably going to be getting A or B. But then they tested what happens if we gave them 6 options and 10 options and 15 options. People ended up not buying because they couldn't make up their mind. And I'm experiencing that when it comes to, well, what time should I be in the booth? Anytime you want. They never show up.
Yeah.
Because it's anytime they want. Now, if you tell them, listen, when it comes to the Americas, because we have Asia plus Pacific, Africa and Europe, and then the Americas East Coast and the Americas West Coast. That's the 4 time zone areas. So we tell them, listen, 2 to 4, Americas West Coast. That's when people are expecting to be, okay. Then you gave them some guidance. There's likely more people coming up for the booths.
Yeah, like some people just don't like making decisions, and a lot of people find it easier when the decision's already made for them.
Yeah, and also I can also understand that if I had to be maintaining some of those booths and it's running there for 48 hours, which is passive outreach. I mean, it's as if you had an ad, if you will. So it's not a bad thing. But if you want to be there and you're not quite sure when is it that someone is going to be coming and visit you, being not necessarily in front of your computer, but at least with your tab open so that you can be there if you hear the notification coming, it's not the most conducive of things. I don't want to be spending my weekend pending, like, did that sound, was that the booth? Just while you're cooking or watching a movie or whatever you're doing on that weekend. So what I did propose to Airmeet was use the mobile app. Use that as a valet. So you have your mobile app on standby. Should anyone enter the booth, then you get the notification, which allows you to basically go around and you can text and you can chat and you can still have a video call with that person if ever necessary. But it would be a much more asynchronous type of interaction, aside from the fact that you may want to run your own webcast or your own activities, up to you. That's why you have your booth. That's totally your thing. But at least this, whenever they may come in, gets much more solved and it's a bit more. Well, you might be hiking and getting someone. You can just take a pause and tend to them if you so wish. If you are on I also told them that since there is 6 people at the moment, that's the maximum for in terms of management for the booth, they should actually create a schedule, a roster. So you would have the mobile app, and you assign, you know, Alice, Bob, Charlie, whoever to these particular time zones. And so your app would be, the mobile app would be sending the messages, routing them to whoever is supposed to be on shift at that particular moment. And well, that simplifies a little bit more the experience. You want to care not only for the audience themselves, but also for the people who are creating the ecosystem. You want them happy. If I have an organization or a FOSS project or a tech community that is not happy, that affects the whole experience on the community itself. You're trying to provide them a good environment for them to want to go and change things. So we really care about the small little detail. I like working a lot with my graphic designer because she's just as OCD as I am. And so Hermit has this little bug where on the see, not affiliated. On the landing page of each of one of the events, they give you this very strange dimension. I've told them several times, I don't understand why, for 1,496 pixels by 327. What?
They just made up a number. Yeah.
Yeah. Where did that come from? I mean, it's the kind of stories that I think someone in Hermit 20 years from now, they're going to write a book and they're going to have stories to tell, because that must have a story behind it. Anyway, if you provide the actual size that they recommend, there's 1 pixel line happening on the left side of all the image. So they insert 1 pixel, and it drives me crazy. It drives my graphic designer crazy.
Yeah, nobody likes it.
You have seen it yourself? You've observed it?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so that I'm happy to say that we really pay attention to those things. Those things really put us on our toes. Like, we don't want any of that to be happening, and we want a smooth experience. You're trying to inspire people. Hello. Yeah. You can't be crappy. You can't be cheap. You can't be.
I feel like my work represents me. And when you see my work, you think of my name, and I don't want my name associated with bad work. So yeah, stuff like that, it bothers me. It makes me feel like it looks like I didn't put any effort into my designs.
That's precisely how we feel like otherwise.
Yeah. I guess artists takes things maybe a little too personally, but still, my work is my name.
Well, so if you work for a third-party company that you regard as, you know, a way to generate money, then I can understand that to a certain degree you feel kind of an emotional distance between what you're producing and who you are. If you are trying to do something that you like and that you are specifically motivated about, if you can't translate that into, if you cannot exemplify how passionate you are about what you're trying to do, just switch off the light and go home. Seriously, there was I think it was very well put. So Kevin Smith used to have a very good period. He's gonna hit me if he ever sees this. He had a very good time of being a director. I don't like him anymore these days. So he did this movie called Chasing Amy, which it's in my top 5 ever. And I remember the 2 main characters are discussing, and Ben Affleck in the movie gets asked something along the lines of, when are you going to be writing something personal? I mean, because he's a comic book writer and so forth. And his answer is, whenever I have something personal to tell. And I think that really is kind of the way to define it. If you have something that you're trying to do that really touches you from a personal perspective, you become somehow, I wouldn't say obsessive, although that's exactly, or that is likely how it's going to be seen from the outside, because you're going to be really paying attention to all the details. It turns out that it's because something inside of you is telling you it's not quite there. That's not exactly what I'm trying to say. It's just, you know, 1 comma more, one sentence more, one pixel more, one just move 2 pixels to here, this cup here in the design, whatever it is, it has to feel right for you. And once you reach that point, it's interesting where you don't care if other people feel it right or not, because it's done. Whether you buy it, as in whether you like what I have produced, my level of satisfaction makes me sleep at night properly.
My
And I can
husband
tweak
says,
it, etc. Yeah.
my husband says, my art is for me, and if you like it, it's a byproduct, and it doesn't matter.
Good one. Good one. That's a very good definition.
So, how long have you been running these 48-hour events?
Since January, we are
Wow.
now preparing the one for October, which will be on the 16th. So we run it every third Saturday, every third weekend of the month. And we have right now a schedule all the way to 2022.
Wow. I like that dedication. How do you prepare?
With a lot of motivation. So we have a cycle. We spend so let's say this is the latest tech up, and then we have typically about 4 to 5 weeks to the next one, because the third Saturday may just be on one of those strange endings of month that all of a sudden you gain 1 extra week. Let's say week number 1 is post-mortem, analyzing what has been going on in the previous one, what can be improved, looking at the numbers, how much audience, which booths have been visited the most, etc., etc. We try to provide all that information back to the members of the community, and also to take a bit of a break, because then you have to prepare for the following weeks. Then we start preparing on week 2. We start preparing the final polishes for anything that has to do with the upcoming tech up, capacity building sessions with activities. So you finalize the agenda in as much as possible. And then weeks 3 and 4, assuming there's not a 5th one, weeks 3 and 4 is outreach. That's when we start the campaign for the next one. In our estimation, if you start earlier than that, people already know that it's a monthly kind of thing, but for as long as we have reached that particular community, let's say. And advertising earlier than that, it doesn't really drive too much attention. It has to be a bit closer. 2 weeks is typically a good timing. 1 week might be too late. The people have already plans. 2 weeks is a decent amount of time. Now, what we have also done is we started a couple of months some kind of season pass. So let me explain this. We don't charge for people to come and participate into the platform. So audience is not charged. Open source projects that come over, they're not charged. We give booths for free for projects and for organizations, tech communities. We don't have a specific business model where we're charging anything, essentially, because this for us is advocacy. We are thinking about at some point getting some sponsors here and there and try to have some income through that, because I need to pay people for that paying attention and helping with the platform. The thing is, we want to avoid ending up being like the NASCAR with stickers all over the place. It is not a commercially oriented type of event. We have a very specific direction towards helping programmers to do something and to have an actual impact eventually. And you don't want to be this virtual. How do you say this in English? You don't want the compass to start pointing somewhere else. The direction has to be very, very clear. So we haven't been. We have discussions, we create a package and stuff, but none of that really seems mature enough to really go out. And so what I meant by season pass is, if you are interested in the event, it's kind of a pain to have to re-register every single month. You got to come anyway. So we customize the form by saying, I'm interested in the whole 2021 season. If you do click that, we will just register for you for next time. And you're good to go, you don't have to. And that also allows us to have a bit more of a prediction as to how many people we're going to have next month, et cetera, et cetera. It gives you a bit more reassurance. And we will, what we are experimenting, not experimenting in an actual, what we are designing, if you will, is we are not interested on value by money, as in people can get donations. We also experienced it a couple of months ago. We started putting donation tickets. So you can come in, it's for free, no problem. If you feel like you want to donate, you can donate. And some people had, that's very nice. I mean, it allows us to start planning for other things. And now we've been thinking about, there's voices in my team that says, well, when you give something for free, turns out people don't show up, or they don't value the product that you're providing because they think it's actually cheap to produce, when in fact it actually costs us money and it costs us time. So it's not straightforward. But we don't want money to be a friction for an entry point friction. I mean, how fair would it be that only people who can afford the ticket can come and learn? Nonsense. Not from an advocacy perspective. And so what we thought instead was, so how about it's effort based? Let's say you want to come for the whole season. Fair enough. You can't miss 2 tech ups in a row. That's your commitment. You claim that you want to be part of the community, you're going to have to come and show up, and you have to come and do things. And maybe in the future, to earn a season pass, it will be, you will have to have volunteered or help a specific open source project and do, let's say, 5 tasks. I don't know. We are just trying to figure out what would make sense, because the idea is that you are providing them with the ability to put into practice some of the stuff that they have learned, and at the same time ratify their commitment as in, oh, well, I like what you guys are doing, and I'm just going to be doing something in return, which is help the community. I don't need you to help me. What I need you is to actually make the community run and feel that things are happening. And for as long as you can do that, well, get your season pass. So we are thinking about merit or commitment type of value more than monetary one.
Sounds like the type of program that would go good with badges and certifications. Like, people work for those things.
Yes, and I'm hoping that Meet is going to be looking into being able to define badges and so much. So one of the things that we have stressed to Meet, and we had a meeting with them, so meeting sounds more important than it really is. Some people who are in the Slack community feedback space, we have decided to, someone decided to start having these regular meetings to be able to provide direct feedback to one of the product managers in their Meet. And by the way, anyone, if any of you is in our Meet, you're more than welcome to come, because it's not a closed type of society where we are conspiring to get things. So my point is that there were conversations, I think it was last night that we met, there were conversations about this very interesting, and I actually thought about it until they were discussing this confluence between event and community. So being able to, so somehow instinctively you could think that that was happening before. From a tooling perspective, it wasn't necessarily happening. Meaning to say, you would have the event through Zoom, but good luck trying to keep a community with Zoom. You would have a Slack, Mattermost, you would have Facebook groups, whatever you want. But and even you can create your event through Facebook, but Facebook cannot hold the event. It will just be an advertisement of the event. You still have to use another platform. Now, with everyone going massively online, you start seeing this migration or this merging of the two concepts. And you would want to have a place where you can run an event and maintain the community so that the same community keeps coming to the next events. And until now, that was done through EDMs, or having an async platform like Slack, again, I was mentioning, but it tended to be two separate type of situations. And apparently that's the reason why Luma would have come into light and have gone have generated enough success to be right now under the spotlight, because their value is this attempt of putting together events and community.
Mhm.
And I'm not quite sure if it's events as an extension of community or community as an extension of events. I wouldn't be very sure about what's the actual orientation. But in any case, this thing about being able to maintain communication over time by creating a sense of community through the events that you're doing, it's way more possible through an online platform than it is. I mean, think about it. You have an international conference. You bring people from all over the place. 5,000 people. Great. They come from everywhere in the world. Everywhere. Let's just make it even easier. Everywhere from the US. So the distance is quite a distance, but it's still, you know, reasonable. I'm not talking about bringing people from Greece, let's say. How do you maintain a community like that? They're still separated north, south, east, and west. They will be able to face-to-face do it in the stage or the pavilion that you have rented for the conference. But once everyone goes back home, then you need to use another platform to keep them in touch with each other. And typically that is, you know, newsletters or, again, Slack, not affiliated. And having this need now to be connected all the time and to run the events online in a much more integrated manner makes a lot of sense. So we know that Ermit is thinking about it and they're looking into how to play that angle.
That's a really good idea. I've seen people host events on in their Facebook groups, and then they cut it off and says, "Meet me in Zoom if you've paid the $97 fee."
Right.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be conducive for me. I want a one-place experience. I don't want to be clicking here or there, and then, you know, you go to another place and, oh, now you have this surprise. Whatever is the model. If I want it simple, I have to expect to give it simple to others. It's kind of a very straightforward philosophy there.
You know, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. The model is it's $97 to get onto Zoom, and they stream it to the Facebook group, and then they turn it off the Facebook group after the first hour or however long they want. Yeah.
Definition of a tease.
I think it's the starter program to whatever their upsell is. Like whoever will buy is more likely to buy from you again, something like that.
Right. Yeah, I'm always lost in all of those reasonings and thinkings because seriously, I don't have a business mentality to save my life. And some people around me scold me for that. But
I really like your idea for an event. I do see you making money from it. I hope you will. There's so many people I would like to introduce you to, if you don't mind. Okay, hooray. I like
I
introducing.
don't mind a lot because we desperately need a business manager, a business developer, someone who can look into it again. And I'm very firm on this, without selling the concept. So for instance, I would never, ever, listen to me, Microsoft, listen to me, Google, listen to me, Facebook. I will never sell a speaker spot, ever. You can give me all the money you want. This is not what was the movie with the indecent proposition? Was it, you know, I'm going to give you $1 million if, yeah, I have my price, but you won't be able to give me that money. I mean, I'm too expensive. Basically, my price would be give me enough money to be able to solve the problem I'm trying to solve with the whole organization in the next 20 years. If you can pay me that, I give you the seat. That's not going to happen, therefore. So yeah, in those limits, I'm more than happy to look into, because there is definitely ways to be able to have a business model that is going to be respectful with the spirit of the event, and to provide all the, you know, the tools and the support that we need to provide to the community by far.
Okay.
Next thing you know, Google is going to be canceling my account. Sorry, you were saying?
The people I want to introduce you to, I had a guy on the show, Stephen Cunningham. He owns a company called Read It For Me, and he started another one called Grow It For Me. And what he does, he holds monthly events, and they go over business books. Um, I thought that might go well with what you're doing, because I was trying
Mhm.
to tell him about AirMeet and how you could use the each table or each booth for a session or something like that, or each chapter of the book that people want to work on. Let them move about the cabin, as you will. And Edmund, I can't say his last name, but he just started an app called mylaunchdash.com. It's a good place to hold all your affiliate links when you get them.
Right.
But a good place to keep up with your tools also. But what he does is makes he builds communities for people, and he shows you how to become a leader within that community. So, so I thought they would be good people for you to meet.
Yeah, looking forward for those introductions, definitely.
Okay. I will connect with you on LinkedIn if I haven't already. But please tell us again, when is the next event?
So the next event is going to be on the weekend of the 16th and 17th of October. I'm going to put here on the chat. I'm guessing you can also put it later if you're going to be having a post or something similar. We always use the same short URL for every single um, 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 month. So the way this functions, for those who are not familiar with our Meet, every month at this point, unfortunately, we need to create a new instance of our Meet, and that new instance comes with a different URL. And so instead of having to pass that URL every single month, which is, by the way, very long and hard for people to remember, we basically we encapsulate it into a short URL. And so people just need to share this one every single month, and it's pointing out to the next one. Right now, it's still pointing out to the September one because the October one hasn't been launched. It will be sometime this weekend, typically Saturday, Sunday, because we start like I said, the outreach on Monday of the third week, which is going to be the next one. And we update all the short URLs typically during the weekend before that first week of outreach. You're more than welcome to come and have a look, experience the platform. Many of you may not be people with a technical background, and you might wonder if that's the place for you to come. I can tell you, strangely, yes, and for one reason. Even though at the moment, so even though the core objective is to help programmers to become these agents of change, in order for that to happen, they require support from not only programmers, but from other types of industries, of all types of knowledge. We're going to be looking into setting up mentoring and also certain types of labs. And the mentoring can be from, like I said, soft skills, in terms of personal skills, negotiation skills, and so forth. So you may have an actual skill that could be valuable for them, and I would definitely love to hear about that. Now, and I will also give you, Erica, a way for people to reach out and let us know about. Actually, I can also put it here for those who may want to have a look at the presentation itself. So we have this general presentation on the deck, Google Deck. You can put that as well into the link. So my point is, let's imagine for a minute, I'm guessing we only have a couple of minutes more, so I'm going to be very, very short. Let's imagine for a minute that there's an open source project that is trying to scale. Sometimes scaling means I want to go for a grant. There's this grant that I see somewhere and I want to go. If I don't have someone who can manage the finances of it, how the hell am I going to do it? Maybe part of the project is growing a community and I don't have a community manager. You don't need to have technical skills for that. They will still need that support. So if you want to volunteer in software, it doesn't have to be specifically on a technical aspect. You can also do it in many other places. And that's the type of people that we want to bring, not this year because it's too early, but as we grow, and that we can provide some other support for the ecosystem so that they can feel support on whatever they want to do in terms of impact, so that they can actually go and do it. And we can provide them with all of those different industries and knowledge that they were going to be needed along the road.
Sounds really good. I will put these links in the chat. And what's a good place where people can reach out to you?
Well, I hope I'm not going to. So, I mean, this is the generic email address for the organization. And anyone can just send us an email over there. The website, well, the website is obviously TIOFfoundation.org. Now, I have to caution everyone that we are working on the next version of the website. This one is a little bit outdated, and I'm not very happy as to the information that we have right now, because we've been doing a lot of new stuff that hasn't been reflected over there. We will also be starting a newsletter soon to keep people updated about not only these activities, but also what we are doing. So we are exploring, we are experimenting with quite a number of transparency tools, because that's another problem that you have typically with NGOs. You make a donation, or you wonder if you would like to make a donation, but the thing is, you can't really see what work has been done. That's an actual problem. And it's an even more problem for the organization itself, because people don't necessarily realize that being transparent is an extra job on top of the job that you just did. So I produce a result, but now I have to document that result for transparency reasons, and I have to publish it, and I have to make a report, and I have to put it on social media, etc., etc. So if you want to be very, very accurate, you end up doing more work for the transparency than the work itself. And so we are trying to find ways to automate that part. And we have some solutions that we are coming up, and that's what's coming together in the second version of the website.
All right. It's pretty amazing. I know here in the US, the Red Cross, they said they pay their volunteers, which means they're not volunteers, they're employees. And if you donate anything, they get to keep 80% of it. So yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I never quite understood this kind of approaches. I mean, I've been a volunteer in some of those organizations, and I have no problem to say that when I've come across people who are on the street, for instance, trying to sell you subscriptions or sponsorship packages for those organizations, I boil, because it's not the place. You're already having volunteers for this kind of thing, and I have witnessed it, how dedicated volunteers can be. And these organizations as well, they manage a quite large budget. And I understand that the difficulties, and I'm not criticizing things lightly. It's just that, well, I don't know, anytime money is involved with these kind of situations, there are two philosophies: those who think that it's absolutely necessary, and those, and I'm much more on the second part, that think that there's another balance to be found. I don't have an answer to it. I don't have a necessary answer to it. It feels counterintuitive to me. That's essentially. Let me put it this way. I always tell, there's two ways to kill an advocacy. Don't give them money, or give them money. The first one is very straightforward. If you don't give them money, if you don't sponsor them, if you don't fund them, they cannot pay for the staff, and eventually they fade away. But they're much more smarter and retarded, it's not retarded, retorted, cunning, like twisted way of doing it is fund them for a couple of years handsomely. Give them 100,000 the first year, 200,000 the second year, 300,000, and you know, oh my gosh, they grow and they grow and they grow and they grow. The fourth year, you know what? Our priorities shifted, and your organization just crumbles at a speed that you won't be able to cope with it. So I always caution whichever organization, anytime you get money, it's fine. It's fine. It's interesting. You need to just be careful. Scale at a level where, function as if money mattered, operate as if it didn't. Because if you're convinced about what you're doing, money should not be a Damocles sword on top of you. That's the best way to kill an advocacy. Because the people that you're trying to change things from, They have more than enough money, way more than you. That's the imbalance. That's always a struggle for civil society.
All right, I understand. Well, John, I appreciate you sharing your time with us. Thank you for inviting us to your event. Hopefully people will check it out. I will distribute these links. Oh.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I hope that people are going to be interested in what we're doing. And if you have any question, by all means, just reach out to us and we'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, John.
You're welcome. Keep safe, everyone.